Hi, Donnie. Welcome to Voices from the Aftermarket. This is our first episode of the show, so I thought I'd invite you along. I've known you for a while now. We joined a little business together. I've met your family. I've stayed over your place. So, good long time friends to start the show off. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Cool.
Busy, but yeah, everything's good.
Yeah. I'm kind of jealous of your weather over there. I can see the sun shining. I'm in the UK. You can probably tell by the accent. Anybody who's watching. I'm based out of the UK, and it's deep, dark winter right now, and that sun
Yeah,
looks amazing.
it's 93 degrees today.
It's beautiful.
So yeah,
The idea of the show is to really get people like yourself up to share your experience and your knowledge from years in the aftermarket business, whether that's on the supplier side, the vendor side, e-commerce, wherever. We really just want to sort of amplify voices of people who have got something interesting to say, right?
yeah, cool.
Well, so with that said, can you introduce yourself a little? Tell us how you came to work in the aftermarket industry. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Donnie La Curran. I'm CTO of Bridge Below. We started out working as a retailer. We were selling exhaust products and other aftermarket products for cars. And we started noticing problems with pricing, little things like that. And we would solve those problems. And then we started building out, instead of just for us, we started building out like larger applications to detect things. And it just snowballed from there, right? So it went from we're just trying to see what we could see on our side. Then it went to showing the manufacturers what we're seeing. They liked what they saw. And then we were building a larger platform for, like a software as a service almost. And I just went from there. And that's just what we like to do is that we like to find a problem and then write a solution for it.
Well, what
Yeah.
were the sort of main problems you were seeing that you tackled first, and how were you trying to tackle them in the first place?
Initially, it's revolved around MAP, so the manufacturer's asking price or minimum advertised price. So we had that, and since we were a retailer, it was affecting us because we would abide by the MAP policy, and then we'd have people that were under it, and we're like, hey, we're missing sales because these guys are under. And then when we started reporting back the data that we were collecting on who was under, the manufacturer's like, this is better data than what we're currently getting. So how are you getting this? And I said, well, it's just something we wrote. They said, oh, can you give us some more? And that was it. We started feeding more and more data to them, which then evolved into the first platform, which is just our map monitoring system. Then we're on TrueView Audit now as well, which is the new software which audits retailers with the ACEs and PIs provided by the manufacturers. Again, it's the same thing. Manufacturers asking for some CSV data, so we're giving it to them. We're like, surely there's got to be an easier way for them to go through all of these things, which then evolved into the platform which we offer today for TrueView Audit.
So take me back to that moment then when you realized you could kind of change how the aftermarket works on a bit more of a grander scale than just for yourself, as content ultimately is what connects your brand to real people in the real world, right?
Yeah, I mean, content, I always say content is king. It drives business decisions, and the content that you provide to retailers to show on the sites, if it's wrong, you're missing out on sales or you're getting returns. So there's a lot that goes into the content, whether it's what you've generated or whether it's what you're consuming and being able to like make reports on. It's real important. So when we were able to see what we're doing with the data and how we can provide it in a way to manufacturers, it's insightful, so they can have like actionable responses to it versus like, okay, I've got a spreadsheet with 10,000 rows. What do I do? We like to get it to people so that they're able to see it and then do something with it that'll actually benefit them versus just crossing their eyes and giving them headaches.
Can you give a good example or a story where a lesson was learned from working with those manufacturers, a success story, a failure story? We've all got them, right?
Yeah, no. So one manufacturer in particular uses our system, and it enabled them to kind of shift their thinking instead of going from needing to find problems, figure out what's going on. We've provided data to them in a way that they're able to just go out and solve the problems and get them corrected. So it cuts down on the time of needing to like figure out what's wrong, since they're told in an easy way to read it, and then they go out and they just talk to whoever they need to talk to, and they get it solved, and then they move on to the next thing. And so it's really it's shifted their way of thinking and how they operate into like a more streamlined process.
Cool. So you've been working with e-commerce for a long time, probably during the time where digital transformation was still catching on, right? That was the big buzzword for a long time, right? But of course, now we have to mention AI. From your perspective in the marketplace, what's your take on AI in the aftermarket industry right now? Are we ready for it? Have you seen any good use cases? Is there any particular way you think people should be working with AI? Is it something that really excites you or something that really worries you, perhaps things to be avoided? What's your hot take?
Yeah, I think AI is fantastic. We use it in stuff that in the tools we build. I think the industry's ready for it. I think it's great for being able to come up with content ideas. So using it as a tool to give you ideas and kind of guide you is fantastic. I think one of the hangups I have still with AI, and it's not necessarily with AI itself, but it's with its use, is that when people just take it and then they just take exactly what AI is giving them and they run with it. AI can be fantastic in its responses, but it can also like hallucinate and give you some responses that it thinks is true and says it's true, but it's completely not. And if you don't take the time to like kind of review what it says, you could be then just passing along some bad information. But it is great. It's great. And I use it a lot just to give me some guidelines. And then I go from there, and I just use it as kind of like a stepping stone.
Yeah, I've often heard the analogy that you need to treat AI as the smartest, most intelligent intern you've ever had who's very inexperienced, and you need to be on top of their output, right?
Yeah, yeah, and as long as you review it, you're great, and it does again, it does a lot of the times give you some really good information. Every once in a while, it'll squeeze something in there, and the way it words things is beautiful, and you're like, "Oh," and it makes it sound like it's true, but you you just gotta watch yourself just so that you're not just, like, regurgitating and sending it right back out.
It's great for some positive reinforcement of your own ego.
Oh, totally.
So I think you've seen a lot of this data that's been going around. You've seen a lot of what's going right in the industry in terms of content and what's going right in there and what's going wrong. So, what have you found has been the most common problem with the data you see, the workflows you see between manufacturers in this space and perhaps the retailers or distributors? Uh,
I think a lot of the things is the data is only going to be as good as what you put into it. And some of the stuff we've seen, they have some generic titles, generic descriptions. And if you're fine with that, then that's fine. But if you're really looking to take that extra step, really get in there and get some good content. And I know that the retailers are going to take the title maybe, and they may adjust it a little bit because of SEO purposes. They're not going to want to be, you know, the same title on 1,000 websites. Like, let's be a little bit different, and that's fine. But we do see like just like a lack in titles and descriptions, or like sometimes the URLs are invalid URLs that are in there. So it's just like making sure that the data that you're passing through is good for the retailer.
Right. So from the manufacturer's side, it's just,
Yeah.
making sure all your fields are unique, perhaps and making it easier for the retailer to take quality data and to ingest that and make quality pages out of it.
Right. Yeah, because the retailer, they're going to take the aces and pies standard, which the manufacturer is using to generate the files. So if the retailer is not going to like really modify too much, they're going to take everything, kind of ingest it, and then output that on their site with some minor modifications, probably for some SEO purposes. But if you're not giving them good stuff to work with, there's only so much they can do, right? If you're just like brake pads, brake pads, brake pads, okay, like let's give a little bit better title for it. So maybe we mention the years, models, some stuff like that is it's a particular type of brake pad or whatever the product may be. But yeah, this just some better quality data enables the retailers also to have good pages, and then it gives them a little bit more to work with when they're trying to make small adjustments for those SEO things.
Yeah, I think particularly that rings true in the aftermarket section where we're looking at performance and, not just replacing parts. You want to put an impressive bit of kit on there. So you want to tell a story around that product, surely. You want to say
Right.
why it's great, what particular stands out different, how it's different to the competitors' products, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, even for the OE stuff where it's just, yeah, like I'm not looking for performance, but I just need to replace the brakes on my car. Like you make yourself stand out, right? Take that extra little step and make yourself stand out from the other guy. Maybe that storytelling helps grab that sale.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as it's an extension of your brand, right? Your brand is informed by your ethics, how you work, the quality of the product you create. That all goes into the product, which the user sees. Now, why would you not include some of that story in your product titles, descriptions, images, that sort of thing? Uh,
Yep.
does that ingestion process always go smoothly? Or do you
No.
find that so there are errors creep in?
Yeah, there's always going to be errors. Nothing's 100% perfect. There's always going to be some kind of issue, whether it's the encoding of a file or characters in the like. It could be a number of things, but generally speaking, it's fine and it works well. But also, you're talking like the retailer's got not 20 products they're trying to ingest. They're ingesting how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of products into their site. They've got to do it in a certain way. And then once it's in, and then it gets pushed live because they're not just going to do it automatically. They've got to test and make sure everything's fine. But things they slip through the crack, and it happens. But as long as the standards really help everybody kind of stay in line because it puts some guardrails so that people aren't kind of like wandering off.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, speaking of those standards, Aces and Pies by Auto Care Association, right?
Yep.
You've met a lot of people using these standards, and you've used them yourselves. You've built tools using them, around them. What's your take on the standards?
Yeah, I like the Aces and Pies standard. It provides a nice guardrail for both the people generating the files and the people consuming the files. So that way everyone's kind of like on the same page. It's very robust. It covers a lot of information. It does. It covers everything. I think maybe one pain point is where you're allowed to put custom fields in to cover things that may not be in the database or already for a certain attribute or something else. So you can put in a custom field for it. And so that it's a little bit different, but as long as you're in there and you're using it, you'll kind of like start to get the feel for it. And it's not really that bad at all. It's pretty good. And I enjoy using it, being able to like know what I'm looking at and where it's going to be. And it just makes it easier for us because we do a lot of the ingesting on the Aces and Pies. And so that way I know where I'm supposed to look for the data and I know that it's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine life would be pretty difficult without it, right?
Oh yeah, very. Yeah. Everyone would have their own way of sending data. And it's like, okay, how now I have to have an importer for this and this and this. It's yeah.
I'm a big proponent. In fact, I visited ACPN Connect with you last year in Phoenix. Had a fantastic time. So shout out to ACPN as a fantastic event. Hope to see people there next year. Just to round out this little podcast interview, whatever we want to call it, I just have a few more fun questions. Like, what's your favorite part of working in the aftermarket industry? What do you really enjoy?
I get to talk with a bunch of people that have the same interests as I do, like vehicles. Like a lot of us are in the industry because we like vehicles. So then I get to talk to them about it. I get to see the cool cars. It's just I really enjoy that part of it.
Exactly the reason that I got into all this as well. Small batch British car makers were my thing. So this is the end of the show, being inspired by the show Hot Ones. Every time a guest comes on, I'm going to give you 30 seconds at the end of the show just to plug whatever it is you want. Tell us about whatever you've got going on. Any message you have for the viewers you want to leave behind. Yeah, so the mic is over to you. Is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, we just released over the Thanksgiving break a new version of the TrueView Audit website. It speeds up the workflow for everyone, kind of makes it a little more simpler and easier to work with, right? Like we don't need to be in there getting confused with a whole bunch of stuff. We're just trying to get jobs done.
Yeah.
So we just came out with the new version that does that, and we're real happy with it. And we're looking to add some new features to it that we're working on right now.
Gotcha. Okay, well, Donnie, thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future to share more tips and tricks around the industry.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again